Hey, growing people, welcome back. Today I am going to dehydrate some ginger and I'm going to take you along for the whole process from start to finish. So, this is some ginger that I picked up at the grocery store. It is not my ginger that I'm hopefully still growing out in the yard. I have to check on my plant. But it is organic ginger, so I am not going to peel it, and it will be a faster process since I won't have to take off all these peels. And as I chop it, I'm trying to make them all the same size, all the slices nice and thin so that they can all dehydrate at the same rate. So in total, I have about 3 pounds of ginger, so it's a lot of chopping, which is okay because when you do this process, you will have a lot of chopping to do also. But just keep on going until you have no more ginger that you need to chop. And when you have your huge pile of ginger slices, you'll be ready to lay them out on your trays. And that's what I have here. I've got my metal dehydrating rack on the bottom, and on top I put this silicone mat. And it's flexible and really useful because it keeps the pieces from falling through the metal rack when they shrink in the dehydrator. And it makes it really easy to dump the slices into a bowl when they're nice and dehydrated. So I really like it. And I'm just laying the pieces end to end, trying not to overlap them or put them on top of each other so that they can get some good airflow while they are dehydrating. And that way it will help them to dehydrate at the same rate. So I'm just filling in the nooks and crannies, and it looks so nice on the tray when it's ready to go into the dehydrator. This is my second tray, and all I have to do now is repeat the process 4 more times. My Magic Mill dehydrator is a 7-tray dehydrator, so with the 3 pounds of ginger slices, I do believe that I will fill up all 6 trays, and that's a pretty good load. I find that when I have kind of a tedious task to do, whether it's in the kitchen or out in the garden, I like to have as much fun as possible. So if that includes making designs out of my ginger slices, that is what I'm going to do just to break up the monotony a little bit. So while I'm continuing this process, let me tell you a few things about ginger. It's a rhizome, which is a modified stem that grows horizontally just under the surface of the soil, and it sends up shoots vertically. But the part that we typically eat is the rhizome, or the modified stem. We like to call it a root also. And it's been a folk remedy for generations, and it can help reduce inflammation and soothe upset stomach and aid digestion. It's a good antioxidant and supports the immune system. So here's some ginger that I dehydrated a couple months ago, and I'm going to show you what I love to do with it. I am going to make some tea, which is one of my favorite beverages. And I'm just going to dump the ginger into the bottom of my mug. And I really enjoy ginger and peppermint. So I've got my hot water, and I'm going to pour it in my mug and let it steep a little bit. You can also throw some honey in there and make it a really delicious hot drink. So I usually don't take the ginger out of my mug. I just leave it at the bottom, and that's generally where it stays, and it's not a problem when I'm drinking it. So cheers. Okay, so it's the next day, and I don't think I let the dehydrator go for all 18 hours. I think it was dry before then. So here I am just checking on the slices to make sure that they are completely dry. I'm listening to what they sound like when I try and snap them. I don't want them to bend. I want them to actually snap in my hands as I'm checking for doneness. And they sound pretty good, so I've taken them out. And I'm going to get all 6 trays into this bowl so that I can start the next step. And that's what I mean by this flexible mat. It makes it super easy just to dump whatever you've dehydrated into your bowl or the next vessel that you're using. So a few more things about ginger. It is also delicious in addition to being good for your health. It can be used as a garnish or an ingredient, and you can add it to all kinds of things like soups and stews and curries and stir fries. So let us know what your favorite recipe is for ginger. So my next step is I'm going to put my dehydrated ginger into these pint jars, and I'm going to vacuum seal them. And that is how I'm going to store them. This jar is the jar that I'm currently using, so I'm going to refill it. And then I will have that available for my use for my teas, or if I want to throw it in a soup or another dish and just have it rehydrate on its own. You can also grind these slices either in a blender or a spice grinder, and you can make your own ginger powder if that's how you would rather use ginger in your recipes. So the possibilities are endless on what to do with dehydrated ginger. So I'm trying to fit as much ginger as I can into these jars, because I think I only have these 3 jars to use that are clean at the moment. So I'm stuffing them in there. And this is a great step for food preservation. We've got some shelf-stable flavors, a garnish or ingredient that you can add to your dishes. So I've got my vacuum sealer, and I'm going to attach the lid and then the hose and then turn it on, and that will create the vacuum and suck out all the air and hopefully help to keep the ginger fresh for a while, probably for months at a time, perhaps a year. I'm probably not going to get to that end of the year because I will most likely use all of it by then, but I'll vacuum seal it just the same. And I check to see if there's a good seal by lifting it up by the lid. And after all 3 are done, this is my end result. And I'll leave them on my counter just to see if any condensation forms, and I'll check it by making sure that they can, wiggle around a little bit as I pick up the jar and turn it upside down. And if that is good, I will put it on my shelf. And that is my process.